Welcome to BS Draftcast, where we are Brandon and Steven, and we're back at you with the recap of Saturday's game, and we're going to go over today's game as well as my bets for the day. Steven, how you doing on this cold, chilly Sunday, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just had a cup of coffee to stay warm, man. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Man, what a day of football yesterday. We had a crazy game to start the game out in the 4:30 window. That Houston Texans and Cleveland Browns.
To the line. Flacco went
Holy,
first
I
down.
mean, it was definitely a game to watch, and it got out of hand quick. What did you see from the Texans? Do you think that this Texans team, depending on who they play, if obviously it all depends on the Monday night game with Pittsburgh and Buffalo. If Buffalo wins, the Texans play the Chiefs up there in Arrowhead, and if the Steelers win, uh, if the Steelers end up, or if the Buffalo wins, the Texans would go to where would they go? They would go to Baltimore,
They
and
go to
then
Baltimore, yeah.
yeah, and they go to Baltimore, and then if the Steelers win, they go to the Chiefs. Give me your thoughts on what you saw in this game. What you think was different about this Texans defense, because that was their Achilles heel for a little while there. We know C.J. Stroud's something special and he can move the ball, but what happened with this Texans defense that they just came out and they look like the Cleveland Browns defense that everyone's accustomed to?
And the Texans look really good. The defense especially looked great. They played Cleveland earlier in the year, and Amari Cooper went off on the Texans earlier in the year. I think he had, what was it, like 260 some yards or something crazy.
Yeah,
Like he went nuts.
236, something like that. I mean, he definitely went crazy.
Yeah, he went ballistic in that game, and I think D'Amico Ryan's just being the defensive guru that he is. He kind of was like, okay, like we're not going to play him man coverage as much. We're going to play a little more zone. They mixed things up a good bit on the defensive side, and I think that helped them a lot, being able to shut him down. But the Browns early on, it looked like it was going to be a really good game, like a really like close game to the finish, and then the wheels just kind of fell off for Cleveland, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that, like, it at the start of the game you were like, "Uh-oh. Here comes one of them games. It's going to come down to who has the ball last, and it's just going to be back and forth, touchdown for touchdown, field goal for field goal." And then out of nowhere, it just the barn doors opened and the Texans went nuts. Them two back-to-back interceptions for touchdowns really was detrimental to that Cleveland Browns team. Joe Flacco, the Cinderella story comes to an end. But hats off to Stefanski getting that team to where they're at. Flacco taking that team to the playoffs. Obviously, for Browns fans, it didn't end the way they wanted to, but you can't discredit the Cleveland Browns team. And I was sitting there thinking with that game, how okay, say Joe Flacco's in there and they're doing the damn thing like they were. Where do you think that team is if they still have Chubb as running back?
That's what I was thinking. So Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford have played really well, alternating carries, and um, especially coming out of the backfield. They're both really good receiving backs, so they played their roles really well. I think what really hurt Cleveland yesterday was having both of their starting offensive tackles out. Like that really opened the doors for like Will Anderson was on a mission yesterday. Jonathan Greener was on a mission yesterday. So they were in the backfield a lot. They applied a lot of pressure having both those tackles out. Obviously the interior of the line was still, holding up strong, but Joel Bitonio ended up getting hurt yesterday. He ended up finishing the game, but he seemed a little hobbled. So that offensive line was really they weren't putting up much of a fight against that front seven for the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, I just I think that team is even in a better spot if Chubb is back there. And no nothing taken away from Ford or Hunt, but I mean, Chubb's arguably the best running back in the league, and
Absolutely.
hopefully when he does come back, he can get back to his old ways. I mean, that was a pretty significant injury, but um yeah, congratulations to the Browns getting to the playoffs. Unfortunately, you guys got knocked off in the first round. But man, D'Amico Ryan's that Texans team, it's scary, man. I mean, they should have had another touchdown on the board whenever C.J. Stroud missed a wide open Nico Collins on that bomb. So I mean, it if that Texans team can play defense like they did and play offense with the way they have been with C.J. Stroud at the helm, which I want to mention, he did not play in that first matchup against Cleveland. He was not under center, but that Texans team's get scary, and I know that it's Cleveland, and the old adage is Cleveland's going to do Cleveland things, and it looked like that's where they were back to the Cleveland Browns yesterday. So, well, it'll be interesting to see next weekend with the Texans. I would love to see it. I'd love to see them go on a run. That'd be awesome. But even if it does fall short next weekend, I think the Texans are a force to be reckoned with for many years to come. They're pretty young. They seem like they have a baller in C.J. Stroud. He's fun to watch. He just looks like a veteran in the pocket, and hopefully he can continue that. And they get some pieces on defense, and I think that team can be very dangerous.
I agree. They have a very young, up-and-coming team, particularly on offense. We talked about it. We touched on it a good bit the last few podcasts that we did. But, not having Tank Dell, I mean, even then, guys have really stepped up, man. Nico Collins, it was good to see our boy John Mechie get some touches yesterday. He played really well.
He played awesome.
And Brevin Jordan, man, he got that pass, and he was rolling.
That man is not a tight end. That's a receiver. I mean, holy, he was flying. I was just sitting there and I was like, Owusu might be one of the fastest linebackers in the league, and I mean he just ran away from him like he didn't even exist. So that team definitely has some talent. It's young. I think it could turn out to be something great. They could build something over there. I'm not gonna sit here and call them a dynasty or anything like that, but that team's young, they're fast, they're playing ball for D'Amico, and I think he'll get that defense right. Just a stat with CJ, he had 3 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, the dude's just lighting it up. It's crazy just the poise that he has and how comfortable he is, and I mean he looks like a veteran in that pocket, and everyone talks about it and everyone says it, but man, it's impressive what he's doing. And everyone knows how I feel about Ohio State quarterbacks, but I got to give credit where credit's due. And C.J. Stroud's a baller, man. He really is, and I really enjoy watching him. He's very well spoken. I enjoyed whenever he was on the Pat McAfee show and he was talking to them guys, and he's funny as hell. So hats off to them. Congratulations to the Texans. And on that, we did take the over on the bets, and that cashed with ease. I mean, the Texans cashed the over on the bet them damn self. So we moving on. That was the 4:00 game. We move on to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. We hit the nail on the head again. We kind of said in the last video of I just can't take the Miami Dolphins over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. I just can't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. It just doesn't. The Dolphins, I don't think are quite there yet, especially on defense. And they got to figure out how to move his ball whenever the going gets tough, because it seems like if they can't run the ball, they can't stretch the field, and that's all their offense. And it kind of got exposed yesterday, and it's nothing against McDaniels, because I love McDaniels. The dude's an offensive gangster. But it seems like if their running game does not get going, then they're not able to stretch the field like they want to. And, I mean, you got to have some kind of other game plan other than throwing nukes down the field to Tyreek Hill and to Cedric Wilson and Jalen Waddle. I mean, Jalen Waddle only had 2 catches yesterday. Why he wasn't more involved in the short game? Let these guys get out and run. Just get the ball in their hand, even if it is these drags or slants. And I understand the Chiefs ran a lot of zone to clog them holes up and everything, but I don't understand. I mean, you have A-Chain who this defense or this offense is literally built for speed. I mean, it is straight line speed runners, and it just Tua didn't look great yesterday. And I get it; it was negative 30 degrees or whatever it was. I mean, Patrick Mahomes' helmet broke for Christ's sakes when he got hit. But it's hard to bet against that team, and especially at home. They call Chiefs Kingdom. Rasheed Rice had an excellent game. What a great standout game. 8 catches, 130 yards, touchdown. He almost had 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, I mean, I still don't think the Chiefs are a dominant force. They don't scare me by any means. What's your thoughts with this Miami team going forward? I mean, yes, we know that they can put up 70 points a game, 60 points a game, 50 points a game. But it seems like if they're in outdoor and elements, and a team can shut that running game down. It seems like they're dead in the water.
Well, I feel like what happens with the Dolphins is like a lot of these games, like not last night. Last night was just a mess. I mean, they were just completely outplayed. To be honest, to a certain extent, they seemed like they weren't prepared. I mean, just for that weather. I mean, it's hard to prepare for that kind of weather. Don't get me wrong. And being a team from Miami, Tua played at Alabama, A-Chain played at Texas A&M. So these are warm weather climates. For the most part, like we can all agree on that, right? So a lot of these guys, they're not, they're not kind of. I don't want to say they're not built for the cold weather, but they just seemed completely unprepared and just outmatched. I mean, it looked that way very early. Like
Yes.
they weren't able to establish the run game. They had Mostert back, weren't able to establish a run game with him or A-Chain. Aside from that bomb that Tyreek Hill, caught and made the play on and got the touchdown, like the Dolphins didn't really do anything, really anything worth mentioning. And then when you look at them like over the course of the season, it seems like they start off hot, and you're just like, oh, here we go, the Dolphins are about to blow this team out. And then somewhere after halftime, fourth quarter, they kind of just fall off offensively. It's like they just I don't know if they just like they don't they're not finishing games.
Yeah.
Basically, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. Like I said, yesterday was just a sloppy, crappy game. It just wasn't. Everything was in Kansas City's favor, and we talked about that yesterday before the game. It played all the elements played in Kansas City's favor, and then not to mention the injuries the Dolphins have been dealing with. So they had some key players that didn't play. Or if they did play, they were limited. They were banged up. So I don't know. I think as far as the Dolphins go going into next year, maybe try and get that, get healthy, obviously, first of all, but keep building that offensive line.
Yeah,
And
that is a
honestly,
huge.
yeah, and hopefully Bradley Chubb comes back healthy. Van Ginkel played really well this year. Hopefully Jalen Phillips comes back healthy. So losing those guys, it really hurt. They really missed that pass rush yesterday. A lot of defensive schemes that they were running were kind of breaking down. When Patrick Mahomes would start to scramble, like nobody was, like they wouldn't try to push him out of bounds or anything. Like they wouldn't touch him, and he was just running up and down the field on him. He looked like Michael Vick, and that just can't happen defensively. So I think the Dolphins honestly just need to get more mentally tough, and that includes Tua.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's another thing I wanted to touch base on. I mean, another key name they were missing was Xavier Howard, which obviously Xavier and Jalen Ramsey, it's arguably the best cornerback duo you can ask for. Um, it's it's tough to it's tough to watch the Miami Dolphins just because they have these games where they're so dominant from top to bottom. They're dominant on offense. They're putting up 70 points against the Broncos, which once again, the Broncos game, if you look at the statistics, I think A-Chain and Mostert both had over like 150 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns apiece. I mean, it was something absurd. Um, and then obviously that opens up the windows for the Tyreek Hill and those RPOs that two was so accurate at throwing on the timing routes, and Jalen and Cedric Wilson and their Smythe, their tight end. I mean, it opens up so much, but it looked like Andy Reid came into that game and had that entire offense in a box. I mean, he put that team in a box. They were trying that motion to get Tyreek the ball and Jalen the ball, and everything was just kept in front of the Chiefs defense, except for that, like you said, that one play. Tyreek Hill made the play on the ball, and he broke a tackle, got in the end zone. That was the only 7 points that they scored. Um, it's just wild to me that such a high octane offense, and and maybe it is the weather. Maybe they couldn't get acclimated. I don't know, but just such a high octane offense and such an offensive guru minded coach, you couldn't do a damn thing on a team, the Chiefs, who haven't been playing great football, and people have been moving the ball up and down on them at will. So, kind of shocked me. I thought it would be a little bit better of a game, but like you said, we talked about it. And how do you play Patrick Mahomes? I mean, especially whenever you can't hit quarterbacks nowadays. Um, you he takes off and runs. So is he a runner at that point? Am I allowed to hit him? Do I push him near the sideline and get a personal foul because I hit him too late or pushed him too hard? Whatever it may be. I mean, and that's not just Patrick Mahomes, but it's a glaring issue with Patrick Mahomes because it happens every weekend with Patrick Mahomes and him crying to the refs and
Yeah.
everything else. So, I mean, like you asked me, how do you play him? I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, to me, and I don't want to ever see anyone get injured, but my thought process of whenever you're playing a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and I remember back in the day just listening to coaches, and you make them quarterbacks think twice about running. If you
Yeah.
get a penalty, you get a penalty. We'll lick our wounds and figure it out. Just don't get us a penalty in the fourth quarter when we're down by 6 and we need to stop. If it's early on, it you get a penalty, you make him rethink taking off with that ball. And honestly, I think that's what these coaches got to do with these quarterbacks that take off running. And that goes for Lamar, goes for Jalen. You smack these quarterbacks right in the mouth, and it's going to put in their mind, man, I don't know if I want to run this ball anymore. But I mean, it's just I don't know. I think I had more hope for the Dolphins, and I think the Dolphins' true colors have shown when they've played a good team. I mean, the Ravens exposed them. The Ravens shut down the run. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. The Ravens did shut down the run for a little bit, but then out of nowhere, A-Chain just started going bananas. But as far as the passing game, they were getting in them passing lanes, and those RPOs, those timing throws, you'd have Patrick Queen standing there, which he finally got. Was it Roquan or Patrick Queen who got the pick?
Patrick Queen.
Okay, PQ was in the passing lane. He finally got one, and they were right there. They were right there, and it does show the accuracy of Tua, but they were disrupting them plays by getting in them lanes and disrupting, chipping them receivers to where the timing's way off, and that's what that offense is built on. But the Chiefs win at home. It's not surprising. I'm not shocked. We both said you can't bet against the Chiefs. It's hard to. We took the under in that game. That was 43.5. It cashed with ease. I was kind of nervous a couple times that the Chiefs were down in the red zone, real close to the end zone, and I was like, if they score a touchdown, this might go over the number. But ended up getting a lot of field goals and a couple touchdowns. But we cashed with ease, especially with the Miami Dolphins offense being abysmal and not doing a damn thing. Anytime that Tua is your second leading rusher and he was almost your leading rusher, you got to know that your team is having issues on offense. That's for sure. Especially with Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, A-Chain. I mean, when you got them kind of guys and he's your second leading rusher, almost the leading rusher for a game, and you only had 76 total yards of rushing in a game that's negative 30 outside, you got big problems.
I'm with that, and I know we touched on it yesterday, and we were talking about the Chiefs, and the Chiefs we were saying like they need somebody to step up, at receiver. In particular, they need Travis Kelce to get back to being Travis Kelce, and they need someone to step up as receiver. And man, that's been Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice
Yeah.
has really stepped up and everything, and hats off to him. And
Big time.
Pacheco was running angry like usual yesterday, and so the Chiefs just they played their game, and I think that's why they came away with it. They were more prepared than Miami.
Absolutely. They were Miami was out coached top to bottom. The one thing before we move on to the Sunday games, the drops once again, but it was coming from an unlikely source. Travis Kelce had some big drops in that game, which luckily it didn't cost him. But man, the one drop that stands out to me is the drop that was a routine Travis Kelce special, wide open in the middle of the field, where he turns up field and rumbles into the end zone, and I mean, hit him right in both hands, and he dropped it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Taylor Swift's over there sucking the soul out of Travis Kelce, but I don't know, man. He had 10 targets, 7 catches, 70 yards receiving, which that's a pretty good game. But I mean, TKL, some of these drops, and I mean, you've even seen him on the field. He was pissed about it. And I don't know why or what's going on. I don't know if they maybe need to deflate the football. Just kidding. Just a joke. But no, I just wanted to touch base on the drops, because if they play a team that that can actually move the ball and do something, those drops are going to be turned costly, because some of them drops will turn from 7 points to 3 points. And if you have a high octane offense that can go down the score, if you're only putting up 3 and they're putting up 7, that's just a recipe for disaster. So, like I said, perfect day yesterday. Perfect 2-0 day. I actually put a parlay together on the old lady's phone. Had her put it in. We took the over in the first game, under in the Chiefs game, and we crushed it. So, big day on the betting side of things. We're going to move on to the 4:30 game today, Green Bay versus Dallas.
Yeah, I'm excited about this game.
We talked about it yesterday. This could be the upset game. This could be the Green Bay Packers going into Dallas and shocking the world. And I'm not pushed too far away from that happening, honestly. Green Bay and Dallas in Texas, which actually it's kind of weird. It's 19 degrees in Texas right now. It's just any reason why I know that is because it's showing it on the ESPN, the game weather right now, the AccuWeather. But what do you see with this game? What's your thoughts? I know we kind of touched based on it, but we're going to go more in depth on these games since it is today's games. What do you see? I know there's one big injury with Green Bay, and that's A.J. Dillon being doubtful. But it does look like Christian Watson and Jari Alexander are going to be game time decisions. They're probably going to test out their injuries, I would assume, and see if they can go. What are you looking at here? What do you see? What do you think Green Bay has to do to overcome and potentially win outright in Dallas?
Well, yeah, we touched on it a little bit yesterday and everything, and I think this could potentially be the upset of the playoffs. But I don't think people should be as surprised with Green Bay if they do end up pulling the upset. And I think that with that young team, those weapons they have, Jordan Love's playing really good. He's one of them guys like we talked about before. They kind of live or die by Jordan Love. But I mean, his ability he's been spreading the ball around. He's been playing really good, mistake-free football. He's been spreading the ball around. I mean, he hits everyone, the backup tight end, the fourth-string receiver, he's hitting everyone. And their ability to use multiple people in different formations, and once they get Aaron Jones rolling, then you got a whole other dynamics. Then you got to worry about play action and stuff like that, which I'll be honest, man, Jordan Love does as good as anyone. And once they get that play action rolling, like I said, Aaron Jones rolling, they're a tough team to stop offensively. And the offensive line's been playing well. They still don't have David Bakhtiari. He's still injured, so that was a blow to them. But man, other guys have stepped up. As far as offensive linemen go, Zach Tom has really stepped up. Rasheed Walker, they were kind of doing some strange rotation thing with them last week, which was odd. You don't usually see that on the offensive line, but
Right.
they were doing some little. They were kind of rotating the two of them, which was cool. Both really good young up and coming offensive linemen, but the same thing with that offense, man, and the defense. Just a young, just hungry team that just people kind of sleep on them because of that. They're young. They don't have the experience necessarily. They have some veteran guys, but I think that as far as what Green Bay needs to do is spread that ball around, open up the running lanes, get the play action going. And you got to match Dallas with points. When you go on the defensive side of the ball, you need to do – CeeDee Lamb's a beast, but you need to do what you can to contain him. You're not going to stop him. He's not going to have a zero-catch game. But you have to be able to contain him, shut him down on those big plays because that's what he's known for. He catches a slant and he'll take it to the house. I mean, he's just a big play machine. Make Brandon Cooks, make Michael Gallup, make those guys beat you. So they need to try and take away CeeDee Lamb from Dak Prescott because then when you do that, when you start messing with the dynamic between those two, it seems like the Cowboys offense gets a little rattled because as far as like run game goes, I like Tony Pollard, more of a home run hitter. He's a good I really like Tony, but I don't think he's like a true number one workhorse back.
Right.
But he's just a big play guy waiting to happen. So as far as Green Bay, you gotta try and do something with CeeDee Lamb.
I agree with everything you said, and honestly, I think your wild card in this game is Brandon Cooks because it seems like the only thing Brandon Cooks does is he'll have one catch for 60 yards. Like it just seems like he every game he finds a way to get that big play, and they 100% got to lock down CeeDee Lamb and not let him get loose and go off for 170 yards. They just can't let it happen, or it's going to be a long day. But they can't let Brandon Cooks get behind the defense while they're focaling CeeDee Lamb. And on the Green Bay side of the ball, you said it. Jordan Love has been playing very mistake-free football and is very. He isn't keying in on one receiver, and I think that's been such a help to him as a quarterback, considering that a lot of quarterbacks, whenever they are new in a system, I mean, I can't say he's new in a system, but you know what I mean as far as, he's really, this is his team, I guess I should say. They focal on that one receiver, and they try to drive the ball, and they try, no matter what, they're trying to get that ball to that one person. And he, like you said, I mean, he's hitting the fourth string receiver. He's hitting the backup tight ends. He's hitting the running backs out of the field. And I think that really, it's a very unselfish team in Green Bay, which
Yes.
I think is very, it benefits them, and it gives them the option and the chance to go in and upset the Cowboys. And I mean, you said it best. If they can slow down CeeDee Lamb, because we know they're not going to stop him. It's not going to happen. If they can slow down CeeDee Lamb and get Dak Prescott rattled, if they can get to the quarterback and slow down CeeDee Lamb, the Green Bay Packers have a real shot today. The one thing that I do want to say, I actually have this breakdown that I typed up. The Packers, when the line opened up, it's 7.5. The Packers were 7.5 point underdogs. That's a lot of points, and to me, that's too many points. And if you look deeper into these two teams, Dallas and Green Bay, look at the dominant, quote unquote, dominant Cowboys at home. The teams that they played at home go as follows: the Patriots, the Jets, the Rams, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Seahawks, the Eagles, and the Lions. And we're talking about a Rams team that they played early that they had no identity and they didn't look good. But if you look at the remainder of them teams, they're not your top tier offensive and defensive teams. They're not. I mean, look at them. The Jets, the Rams, the Giants, Commanders. I mean, they played played the Eagles late in the season when the whole unglued happening was coming. I'll give you the Lions. That's a pretty good team, but the Lions are shaky as well. We've talked about them, and we'll talk about them again. But they should have lost to the Lions. The Seahawks had a chance to win on the final possession. They threw a pick. They've been going their offense has been going against poor defenses in the league at home. So is that why they look so dominant? Is that why they look like this juggernaut of a team at home? Why they're only giving up 13 points and they're averaging 30 at home? I mean, it's I don't know. And I think that Jordan Love and the Packers, they've really turned their season around. And they started out super slow. But since week 11, Jordan Love has thrown 18 touchdowns and 1 interception. And he's completed 70% of his passes on an average of 7 yards per pass. I mean, those are some impressive numbers. I don't care any way you cut it. The Packers aren't amazing on the road, but all their losses have come by 4 points or less. So if the trend continues, it doesn't matter, win or lose. And this obviously is going into one of my picks for today. Like, win or lose, if the trend continues, they've only lost by 4 points or less. Jordan Love's playing great football. Dallas hasn't played, and I'm not saying that the Packers are this juggernaut defense by any means, but their defense is better than half the teams that I listed they played at home. That's for sure. They've done it so many times throughout the season too, and this is going into the whole the pick for today. The Packers could be down 14 or down 13 or down 8, whatever, and there could be a minute left, and they've marched down the field and scored, even if it's meaningless. It's something they've done all season, and they've covered the margin. I mean, every time, and I can't see the Dallas Cowboys absolutely nuking on the Green Bay Packers today. I just can't, because I truly feel that the Green Bay's defense is better than the Patriots. It's better than the Giants. It's better than the Commanders. It's better than the Eagles. I think it's better than the Lions, to be honest with you. And, I mean, the Jets defense might not be better than the Jets because that's about the only thing the Jets have. But, I mean, those games that Dallas has played at home that everyone said they're so dominant at home, and I really started digging into it this morning at 6 o'clock this morning. I don't think they're as dominant as people think they are at home because they haven't played anyone at home. I'm excited for this game. The over-under number is 50.5. I've thought about taking the over because I think that it could be high scoring. And if the Dallas Cowboys come out and prove me wrong and they average their 30 points a game at home, 35, 40, they might damn near cover the spread themselves. So I kind of lean on that over on the 50, but I'm taking the Green Bay Packers plus 7.5. And if you can't get it at 7, because I know it opened up at 7.5, take it at 7. I'm still confident at 7. I mean, what's your thoughts on that breakdown? I mean, I don't know if you knew that information, because I didn't know that information until I dug into it this morning. But, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I didn't know that they've played terrible teams at home that maybe it inflated them and makes them look more dominant than they actually are.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, man. You know, and anytime you go to Jerry's house, you know, there's going to be some sort of a home field advantage and everything with the Cowboys fans and everything that they got down there. So I mean, it's going to be an advantage, you know. And every team is different. You know, you named a lot of different teams where they're, you know, like the Commanders and the Giants specifically. Like their defense is just they're just not good, you know. So now as far as the Packers go, they get heat, man. You know, Rashawn Gary's a beast. You know, they get heat. Devontae Wyatt, he's a beast. You know, they get pressure on quarterbacks and that. So it's mainly just holding up in the back end. They've had some injuries back there. in the secondary. And I think that Jair Alexander being banged up, you know, is he going to be 100%? It's hard to say, but I think that they just need to hold their own in the back end, man. But as far as Dallas, being at home, yeah, it's just what Dak are you going to get? You got to know where on defense, you got to know where number 11's at if you're the Packers. You got to know where Micah Parsons is at. You can't let him take over the game because he's one of those those T.J. Watt guys that just he can take over a game. He'll have the quarterback running for his life. He'll strip sack. I mean, you name it, he'll drop into coverage. So you got to know where number 11's at. But that's a really good breakdown, man. Yeah, I was unaware of that too. And going into Jerry's house, like I said, it can definitely work in the Cowboys' advantage. But can they match each other points for points? And I think that as far as sleepers go, I think the Packers honestly can. Like I said, they got a lot of young weapons on that team. If they get Christian Watson back, I mean, he's a home run hitter.
Yes.
So they get him back and everything. I think this is going to be a really under the radar game for a lot of people. They probably look at it like, Packers, whatever. Cowboys got that, but
Yep.
I wouldn't be so sure, man.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's one of them games that I think could be a very shocking game to a lot of people. Obviously not shocking to Packers fans, not shocking to Dallas fans, but someone on the outside looking in that's not a big fan and they just like football. I think this might be a game to tune in and watch. Honestly, I really do. That being said, let's move on to the Detroit Lions and Los Angeles Rams. Oh, I'm gonna let you take off on this one. Your thoughts. I'm actually while you're speaking, I'm gonna look up Sam Laporta, see if there's any information on him yet. As far as I know, they were saying it was going to be a game time decision if he gets clearance and whatnot. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on this game. Like I said, I know we spoke about it yesterday, but we're really going in depth with these games and breaking them down and giving our best input and our thoughts on these games. So, what do you think about this game? Matthew Stafford going home to Detroit, the big trade, all the storyline in the world. What are you thinking here?
Well, I did read an article this morning. If you want to pull it up for everyone to see, but I did read an article this morning about Sam Laporta, and he practiced, but apparently he had a big, bulky brace, and he was kind of more jogging than actually like going and running routes. And uh, Coach Campbell, he said something along the lines of like he's basically going to be like a true game time decision. They're gonna see how he feels, in the morning and everything, and just once he gets that thing loose and starts running on it, see how he feels. But yeah, last I read, he had a large brace on,
Yeah, so I actually
which is
have an
unfortunate.
article from an hour ago. It was posted an hour ago. Rappaport is the one that tweeted it out. He was very limited in practice, and Laporta will likely wear a brace, but he has all intentions on being out there with his team. So, hey, bone bruise last week. Hats off, man. Bone bruise.
Yeah.
This man. He said, "I'm playing in this damn game. We just won the division for the first time in 30 years. I'm playing in this damn playoff game." But go ahead.
I love it, man, and Dan Campbell does too. Like, those are his guys, man. Like those players are they're like an image of him. They know what they're doing. As far as in a way, making history for the Lions. The Lions have been a franchise that we talked about it before. They've always had pieces, but they just never had them all really at the same time to where they could really make a run. And for a while, they were kind of the laughing stock of the NFL. They had the 0-16 season and everything. Had some really, really dark times for Detroit. So these players are really buying into what Dan Campbell's selling, and they love their coach. And they want to play for him. And even if Laporta's in there on, he'll probably be limited snaps, but get him in there, get him in the red zone, get him in the red zone, kind of get him on a, third and long, third and short type plays, kind of keep him involved in the offense because they need him because he is a mismatch whether he's hobbled or not. Brock Wright is going to be probably filling in and taking the bulk of the snaps. Not a big receiving year for him. You know, he was never really going to be that breakout guy, but he has showed potential in the past. So I think that as far as Detroit goes, man, like you have got to get Amon-Ra St. Brown involved. You know, keep feeding the ball to him, keep Gibbs and Montgomery, keep that 1-2 punch going, and yeah, just keep them on their heels, man. I think Detroit has a lot of potential. And as far as the Rams, uh, that offense has really kicked into high gear. They started off, like you said, earlier in the season. It was a little rocky. You know, they didn't really have an identity, and then not having Cup for the first few weeks. Then Puka's going nuts, and then Kyron Williams is kind of having a breakout, and he starts going nuts, and then Cooper Cup comes back, and it really just opens that offense. Like you said, it's a storybook thing,
Right.
going back to Detroit, Matthew Stafford, and everything. So I think it's going to be a really good game, man. I think it's going to be another game that's kind of going to get slept on because it's the Rams, but people want to watch the Lions. They want to see the Lions play because they're an exciting up and coming team. Their coach is obviously a phenomenal coach. So I'm
MCDC.
excited for this game. MCDC, man. I'm excited.
You leaning one way or the other, Lions or Rams?
I think the Lions are going to pull this one out, and I think they're going to pull it out. I expect a big day from Aiden Hutchinson, to be honest with you, just because the Rams line that's kind of been the Achilles heel of their offense, is that offensive line. It just they haven't played well. I think your boy Kevin Dotson, I think he was questionable to play, and he played at an All-Pro level this year. So even not having him, I mean, that's another blow to that offensive line. But I could see Aiden Hutchinson really having himself a day today.
I like that. No, I really like that. I'm right there with you. The Rams they got hot when it mattered. Kind of like Buffalo. They got hot when it mattered, and they're on an absolute tear. Detroit has showed some up and down, to say the least, and some like, oh man, these Lions might be reverting back to their old ways. But they figured it out, and it's going to be interesting. I'm worried that the Jared Goff that we have grown to know, and I'm worried that he shows up and turnovers kill this Lions team. That's what I'm worried of. If they stick to their game plan and they stick to the ground and then open up them passing lanes and get Amon-Ra involved and having Laporta out there, even in a limited fashion, I mean, the guy literally is huge in the run blocking game, which actually in the article, this is all fun facts. He is only ranked behind 4 starting offensive linemen in the run blocking snaps this season.
Wow.
For a tight end. That's insane. Only behind 4 offensive linemen. I mean, that's insane. So even a limited Laporta is better than no Laporta. Like you said, even if you get him involved in the red zone. He's a matchup nightmare, and it's going to draw attention. He may not be 100%, but you have to respect the man. He's going to catch the ball if it's thrown to him. So it's not like you can just leave him and be like, he's hobbled. We ain't got to worry about it. He ain't running 10 yards, so he's fine. So, I mean, you got to put a hat on him, which could open up the lanes for someone else, for Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, for the running lanes, for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is J-Mo playing today? I think so. He's not injured, is he?
No, he was a full participant.
Okay.
Yeah, he had an ankle injury, but he was a full participant.
Okay, so J-Mo, I think that is it's kind of like the Brandon Cooks thing. If the Lions can get J-Mo and stretch this defense, I think the Lions pull this game. But I think MCDC going into this game, he's going to have his team right. It kind of gives me that DeMeco Ryan feel. He's going to have his team mentally and physically prepared the best as they possibly can be, barring obviously injuries are a thing. But I think that I worry of the Rams offense against his Lions defense because it has been very, very suspect. But we all know Matthew Stafford is susceptible to a lot of sacks. That's why I really like your Aiden Hutchinson having a big day. I got to go there with you, man. I got to go there with you on the Detroit Lions pulling this one out. And I kind of like the number, the over under number, honestly. I don't like the spread. The spread's -3, +3. Oh. I mean, this could turn out to be a Houston Texans game one way or the other. The Rams could come out, force Jared Goff to throw 3 interceptions and get all kind of turnovers, and it could just turn out to be ugly. Or the Detroit Lions could come out and their defense could show out and make Matthew Stafford do the same thing. So the spread could cover. It 100% could cover either way. I don't like it. I think that this is a game where the Rams have scored as a team, hang on. The Rams have scored on average like 24, 28 points a game. So and that's not all season. That's just over like the past couple weeks. So I think that I like the number. I know it opened at 51.5 and it's now at 52.5. So apparently a lot of people like the over, the number, and I think that's where I'm going to go with on this pick is the over on the Rams and Detroit Lions. And if I had to lean on a spread bet, I'm going to lean on the Detroit Lions -3. Not saying that I'm taking it. That's just if you want to throw a couple dollars on it, throw a couple dollars on it. If but that would be my lean. I would lean on the Lions -3. So, but with that game, I think there's some injuries that are kind of like iffy in there, like you said. Laporta obviously being the big one. But I think this is a pretty fairly matched up game. And it's going to boil down to coaching, I think. I think it's going to boil down to which coach has their team ready for this game and this NFC showdown tonight.
Yeah. Real quick, too, I just wanted to throw something out there. With Detroit, man, particularly their secondary, Jerry Jacobs is not going to play, and a lot of people probably don't know who Jerry Jacobs is. He's a young, physical, up and coming corner who I really like. He always, when I watch them play, he always kind of sticks out to me because he's just physical. He's like an old school type of corner, like an Al Harris guy. Like he gets in the run game, he's jamming receivers, he's talking trash. Like he's just one of those guys.
Yeah.
He's like a little pit bull, and he's I think he's out for this game, and I think that
he's on IR actually.
Yeah, he got placed on IR along with one of their tight ends, I believe.
Yeah, James Michael.
James Mitchell.
I have it up on the screen right now actually.
Okay, so you lose Jerry Jacobs. That's a big blow because you like I said, you got Puka Nacua, obviously one of the best rookie receivers we've ever seen, like historically, stats wise.
Yeah,
you got
absolutely
Demarcus Robinson, who's been playing really well. And then obviously you got freaking Cooper Kupp, man. So I think we'll see a lot from Detroit, which is one thing that Detroit has. It's a luxury. So they got CJ GJ back, obviously. So they got Chauncey Gardner back. So you bring him in, and he plays the slot a lot. So you bring him in, and he kind of takes over that Jerry Jacobs role. And then you got Brian Branch, who can also cover extremely well. You got Kirby Joseph, another safety who is more of a back end guy, more of a ball hawk guy. So you got 2 safeties that can also cover. You got Tracy Walker, who's proven that he can make big plays. So I don't think Detroit's necessarily dead in the water, but I think that you need to get all of those guys on the field at the same time in different packages. I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I think as far as like their secondary with the injuries that they've had, I think if you get those guys out there on the field at the same time, it gives you the best chance.
I would agree with that. Now let me ask you this: against this Rams defense or Rams offense, I should say, do you run more zone or you run more man?
I think you gotta play zone against them, man. I really do, because Puka Nacua, I mean, just him and Cooper Kupp, like them routes they run, they're just crispy. Like they're just crispy. So I don't think you want to do necessarily a hat on the hat type of deal, but I would probably run more zone against that offense.
I would agree with that. My only fear is, man, Puka Nakua's routes are beautiful, and he always seems to find them openings.
He does.
And we
Yeah,
know
he always
Matthew
he knows where
Stafford,
to
he's
sit down.
slanging that thing.
Oh yeah. Matthew Stafford ain't afraid to uncork nothing, man. He ain't afraid, dude. Yeah, he's still got plenty of arm left in him.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we have a good lineup of games, which we should have a third game we're talking about. Pittsburgh Steelers versus Buffalo starting at 1:00. But yeah, we know what happened there. We're not going to get into that again. But yeah, I think we got a good day of games. I think that the Cowboys and Packers game is going to be very underrated. But I really like the Packers' chances in this game. Anything you want to touch base on before we close this out?
No, man, I'm happy with everything. I'm happy with the picks we made and the stuff that we covered. I think that we were able to go in depth in this video, which was exciting, and we were able to touch on a lot of different dynamics for these teams and these games.
Absolutely. One thing I will say is, as long as it's good with you, maybe later tonight we'll do the games, tomorrow's games, Monday's games, because I do work afternoon shift, 4 to 12. So maybe, and I know you work during the day, so it just doesn't line up. Maybe we'll fire up a video and we'll record it, and then we'll post it to our YouTube channel just so it's out there, and we're trying to stay more consistent and stay on top of this. So maybe we'll try and do that later, maybe in between games or something like that. Drop like a hour long video, just breaking down the Eagles game against Tampa, and then breaking down the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Buffalo Bills on Monday at 4:30.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. I'm good for that.
All right, cool. So closing this out, I'm gonna give you 3 picks right now. It could change. I could post up a video before kickoff. My picks might change. I might have more. But right now, what I'm putting bets in on is one. I'm going to give you a little freebie special. We're going college basketball. I know everyone's going to be shocked because we've been talking about football for the last hour, and I say I'm giving you a college basketball pick. Michigan State minus 10.5. Take it. Lock it in. Just bet it. Don't ask questions. Michigan State minus 10.5. We're going. That starts at 12:00, so in roughly an hour. Well, hour and a half. We're going with the Detroit Lions, Los Angeles Rams over. If you can get it at 51.5, I know some sports books still have it at that. Take it. I'm still comfortable at 52.5. Take the over. I think a lot of people. I think that this game just goes over. I think this is a shootout. I think it turns into Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff, not necessarily the Rams versus the Lions, because I think they both want to show that both teams were wrong for trading them. So I think this game goes over 52.5. And then the lock that I'm really confident in, that I love, take the Packers plus 7.5. If you can't get it at 7.5, take it at plus 7. I'm confident at plus 7. That half point doesn't scare me. So the 3 picks: Michigan State at noon, minus 10.5. Packers plus 7. Los Angeles Rams and Lions over 52.5. We are BS Draftcast, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We've had a couple people watching live. I'm glad we actually reached out on Facebook and posted this up. So hopefully we can get some more people in and out, and maybe get some questions rolling in for me and Steven. But we appreciate you guys to the fullest, and we're going to keep doing this and stay consistent. Like I said, we're back on this train. We're getting better. The pick video from yesterday, for some reason, didn't post till this morning, which I apologize. But in the thumbnail, you can see that I sent the picks out at 1:30 in the afternoon yesterday. It's not like I just said, "Oh, we hit these picks," and just because that's what hit. But we appreciate you guys. We are Brandon and Steven, BS Draftcast, because all we do is bullshit about football.